Week 13 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few tight ends I looked at off the wire this week. The first tight end, Colston Loveland of the Chicago Bears. So the last few weeks, Loveland's really stepped up, and he's making plays for the Chicago Bear team. And obviously, he was a high draft pick in the past NFL draft. Top 10, he went was Colston Loveland. So the last few weeks, Week 9 at Cincinnati, his breakout game, 6 catches, 118 yards, 2 TDs. Week 10 versus the Giants, 4 catches, 55 yards. Week 11 in Minnesota, 3 catches, 40 yards. And Week 12 versus Pittsburgh, a solid game. 4 catches, 49 yards, a touchdown. Him and Caleb Williams starting to get things going, obviously, for the Chicago Bear team. Colston Loveland, big target tight end. And like I said, for a reason, he went in the top 10, where they want to use him as a Sam Laporta, obviously, type of tight end, where that's where Ben Johnson came from as the offensive coordinator with the Detroit Lions. So with all those factors and his snap count going up and more plays ran his way, is Loveland definitely a tight end tab this week, and he's out there in 57% of fantasy leagues. The next tight end is Harold Fannin Jr., another rookie of the Cleveland Browns. So Fannin Jr., he's been a decent all season long for this Brown team. But the last couple weeks, numbers have dropped off a little bit. But this time of the year, the waiver wire starts to dry out. We're all the way in Week 13 now, where pretty much who's ever had to get picked up got picked up, and it's tough to find emerging players. Week 10 at the Jets, 4 catches, 44 yards. Week 11 versus Baltimore, 2 catches, 26 yards. And Week 12 at the Raiders, 4 catches, 40 yards. Him and Shador, I thought, had decent chemistry in that ball game. This week, a decent matchup coming up versus the Niners, 8th most fantasy points to tight ends on the season. And like I said, David Njoku's taken a back seat over the last few weeks. And we know this Brown team's going nowhere, so it's about playing the young kids and see what they got for next season and the future, and with Njoku being a free agent. Next tight end, Mason Taylor of the New York Jets. I've mentioned him a lot this season on the waiver wire list, is Mason Taylor. And like I said, this Jet team, they don't got much in that passing game, especially with Garrett Wilson out. I know John Mechie, he's playing well over the last few weeks, and Mason Taylor still, to me, is that number 2 option, worst case scenario in this passing game. And also, we know this New York Jet team ran win a majority of these games. Taylor out there in 77% of fantasy leagues. In the last few weeks for him, Week 8 at Cincinnati, 5 catches, 34 yards, a touchdown. Week 10 versus Cleveland, a catch, 4 yards. Week 11 in New England, 4 catches, 30 yards. And Week 12 at the Ravens, 3 catches, 21 yards in that one. So Week 13, middle of the pack matchup versus Atlanta. I don't think their defense is all that great. And like I said, this Jet team, more weeks than not, they're going to be trailing in these games and have to pass the ball. And that's where Mason Taylor comes into play. Next tight end, Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pat Freiermuth's definitely been a touchdown dependable tight end this season, is Pat Freiermuth, and his numbers haven't been great. Week 10 at Chargers, 3 catches, 33 yards. Week 11 versus Cincinnati, only a catch, 19 yards. And Week 12 at the Bears, 3 catches, 19 yards on the touchdown. So Week 13, not a great matchup on paper in terms of versus the tight end. The Bills give up the least amount of fantasy points to tight ends on the season. But Aaron Rodgers hopefully is back in the lineup for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. He was trying to give it a go, but obviously with that fracture in his wrist, they said it wasn't wise, was the medical staff, him to go out there and play. So Pat Freiermuth, like I said, he's been a touchdown-dependent tight end this season. But Mason Rudolph, if he's still in there as well, he's going to target that tight end position. That's what young quarterbacks do. So Freiermuth right now out there in tons of leagues, and 85%. And the final tight end, Brenton Strange of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Strange, he returned to the lineup, and he didn't disappoint with a nice ball game at Arizona in Week 12. 5 catches, 93 yards in his return. So we haven't seen Strange going back all the way to Week 5, where he was off to a good start and arguably the best option in the passing game and consistent option in the first month of the season before he went down with injury. So Week 13, a pretty good matchup at the Tennessee Titans. Their defense obviously isn't all that great, is Tennessee, even though I think they've done a decent job this season versus the tight end position. But Brenton Strange, even if Brian Thomas returns to the lineup, arguably still is that 1A, 1B option in the passing game. So Strange, he can make plays. They like him a lot. He's the coaching staff. That's why they let Evan Ingram go. Also, as well, his contract in the offseason. And Strange is out there in 87% of fantasy leagues. That's a few tight ends I looked at off the wire for Week 13 of the fantasy football season.